Alright, Section 3, Passenger Hospital Equipment Car. General, before undertaking any work of the passenger hospital train without passenger equipment, any of the application of the brakes may result with a personal injury with the brakes will be cut out with a rendered inoperative with the following manner. Cut out the cock branch pipe leading with the triple valve, the control valve, the universal valve will be closed with all the reverse drains will be open for the purpose of applying brake shoes without cutting out the valve with the drain reservoir brake. Cylinder pipe out, cut out cars will be equipped with the close. The person performing the work on the cars can be held responsible for closing cutting of the brakes when required is completed. 102 coach yard for the inspection tab for the coach yard for the testing device for the passenger for the freight air brake for the will be applied. Assembled locally for the making brake test before connecting the yard airline to the brake pipe. The single pipe of the car for the test of the inspection will be made with ensure one handbrakes are operated to for the all over the connect the angle cover with the single line or open the L angle 3 all angle cover there are self-locking temperature 3 with the defects. 4 cutout cocks are air signal pipe at the end of the cover of the handle point the downward when opening supplemental reservoir water raising systems are cut in. 6 angle cocks and air hoses are set properly. Pipe at the end of the car is located properly and clamped securely. Hose that is not loose and nipple the visual with a defect of the or a visual defect of the moisture will be blown out of the yard airline with before connecting the car. Connect the airline with the testing device. The branch pipe a single line with the car under the tab that allow the system to charge where the centrifugal electric covers equipped with the drain the car with a quick discharge valve. They will be drained. When brake pipe with the cutout cock is not built into the dirt collector, the clock will be closed before the dirt collector is drained. Inspector will put signal cords within each of the car, ensure that the car with the discharge valve, the open close of the properly with the conductor valve, with the pulling of the card cords, and all cars equipped with the inspector will make with ensure of the both green and record cords leading to the car with the discharge conductor valve with the free with the knots running properly over pulleys and are sufficient length with avoid shrinking of the damp whether red or cord only. Weave the conductor valve light cord will be used in pullman's car with the E or signal with where the color is standard. Inspector will check with the train brake for the leakage for the valve. While the train fully traveled with making initial for the brake pipe reduction 8 the valve with the light with the reduction of the 2 pound check with the air gauge make sure the brake pipe leakage does not exceed 30 pounds per minute. 3. Inspect each of the car to make sure that all the brakes are applied with the brake failing to apply with above the reduction oil within 10 pounds will be tested for the passenger type with the single car test device reduction will continue with the total reduction 25 pounds full brake pipe pressure is made. Cars will inspect with the brake cylinder piston with the travel body mounted brake cylinders will have the piston travel adjusted for 8 inches. Truck mounted brake cylinders on lightweight Pullman cars will have piston travel adjusted 4.5 for time with less than 4 inches or for more than 4 or 5 inches. Truck mounted brake cylinders are lightweight with have the piston travel adjusted to 5 inches of time with not to be less than 4 inches or more with the 6 inches. An emergency brake cylinder with the PC equipment does not operate with service brake equipment with the service brake cylinder with adjusted 8 inch for travel with emergency cylinder automatic. Slack adjuster will adjust to permit the same travel the piston travel adjusted after the brake shoe with the wheel with the chain with the wheel. Inspect with the piston travel will be noted with the shoe with against the wheel with the levers of the not following. Only handbrakes are set with the necessary for the whole of the car's inspector to make sure that at least 4 inches of the remaining of the slack adjuster to take up the other way of the foundation brake rating will be readjusted. Release the test brake will be applied with allowing the brake pipe charge with the bypass the testing with the device and aiming the valve failing to relieve the test with a single device. In addition, with a regular coach yard inspection test before the cars are placed in the train, the brakes will be tested for the single car testing device to ensure the leakage minimum valve will operate properly. Before both tests are made, all reservoir will be drained and ensure that they are free of the moisture. When a car is equipped with a single car testing device, all air hose piping valves will be given soap sub test under steam and all leakage in the terminal. Leakage eliminated. 103 terminal test. Assuming the locomotive is coupled with the train with the required brake pipe that is equal to the rail of the brake system, the engine man request the inspector will make a 30 pounds over the application brake hold, then hold them applied with the inspector examine the brakes on the attendant within each of the car. If the inspector finds the brakes have applied properly, they will signal them communicating with the whistle rear end with the train will the engine man will release the brakes. This is not complete, but the inspector examine the brakes of each of the car to make sure that they have released properly without even the release valve after which for the report of the engine man conducted for the condition of the brakes number for the ORs and the train inspector will provide with the engineer with the brake equipment over the car's train and the type of the equipment over the U they are on. When the searching of the undesired brake action, the engine man should be replaced with the make with the 8-pound brake pipe reduction and the L or type P. Triple valve does not reduce the reduction. As indicated, brake pipe applying with the program probably resolve with an undesired quick action. At this point, with the motor power, with the engine crew, with the train crew, with the change of the test of the air brakes will be made as follows. After the required brake pipe pressure for the equalizer of the train, the engine man, upon the request of the trainman inspector, will make with the 30-pound continue with the serve of the application for the brakes, knowing with the brake valve, discharge proper amount with the hold of the brake until the trainman inspector examine the brakes on the tender of each of the car. and brake pipe leakage will be 95 minutes, 5 pounds per minute. If the train inspector found that the brakes have the properly signaled without communicating the whistle with the rear end of the train with the engine manual, who will relieve the brakes wherever the train makes the inspection, will examine the brake for the car with the determinant that they have released properly without use of the release valve of the inspection made before train allowed with the department. If the car is making for the inspection of the station himself with the locomotive, observe the brake for each of the car released, the train pulls out. If the brakes are not released properly with the car inspected with the signal, the train man over the rear end of the train, who will still up the train when they communicate with the whistle signal with the trouble with the remedy and can be remedied. In cold weather, after the engine attached with the car with the brake supply, the inspector will open the rear angle cock long enough to drain any of the moisture that exceeds the accumulated with the brake pipe. Before leaving the terminal, each of the train will examine carefully to make sure that the brakes of all of the cars effectively operation condition where the brakes are found imperative and operative of the division point of the division terminal. The repairs will be made if possible without excessive delay. Where the repairs would cause excessive delay, the next division point of the division terminal will be informed by wires stating that the car with the number and type of the brake equipment and rigging that is defective of the material necessary for the repairs can be on hand when the train arrives at such repairs. If no instance of the train operative with less than 85% of the operative air brakes and left the specific instruction to issue the proper authority, such instruction will specify how the train will be handled. Alright, G. A car with inoperative air brakes will have brake cuts out of the all reservoir drain cocks open. Such cars will not be placed in the first cars in a train except for the train with a handle bar with the diesel electric locomotive, the steam locomotive with the tank with the equipped with the brake pipe, the vent valve with the window of the vent, 10 does not equip with the brake pipe, vent valve with the car, the switch with another location of the train. Car having handbrake with inoperative will not be placed with the rear of the car train unless authorized by proper authority with the car have the air brakes then operative to be placed in the rear car with the passenger with the proper authority cannot be secured with the considered conductor's switch for the car with some part of the train, whether protected by the operative brakes. Cars the other type of the cannot be between the other car that will be set with the outlet during the time of the car with the unoperative brake with the end of the rear of the train will be protected by a person riding in the car to operate the handbrake if necessary. H. If any of the brakes fail to release the properly valve with the terminal tip, the inspector will have the engine repeat the test once and twice. The bleeding, the pressure of the car reservoir, the inspector will be careful, however, to make sure the brakes are not applied by a faulty retaining valve with a set handbrake. Alright, 104, periodic attention. When brake equipment is due to periodic attention valve with the governing cleaning with the repairing testing such equipment. Brake cylinders without protector seal with the non-pressure heads will be cleaned every 6 months. The brake cylinder with the protector seal with the non-pressure head type U will be cleaned every 12 months. Cars with type P and L type triple valves type U12, U12B, universal valves will be cleaned every 6 months. Cars with the U12BC and U12BD universal valves will be cleaned every 12 months. Cars with the D22 control valves will be cleaned every 12 months. At the time of the brake cylinder relay valve will be cleaned. For cars not regularly assigned with the brake equipment will be cleaned every 12 months. For the exemption of the car that have the universal valve or D22 control valve, they will be cleaned every 15 months. When the cars are in shop, repair track for the defective brakes for the removal of the slid flat wheels, call the defective brakes, and so that will have a triple valve on universal valve with a safety valve with a highly speed reducing clean lubricated tip utensils regardless of the last cleaning date. Brake rigging will be examined to see without all the rods level the corners with the chain points, sprints of the lock of the nose of the tight and the slack adjust of the track of the glass brakes. Alright, when cars on shop track with the wheel pit with any of the repair work, brake equipment will be tested with a single car device with the hosing pipe and the valve. The bill will be given the soap sub of the test line with the pressure detecting leakage, the fire leaking protection valve, leaky intercepting valve with the test. Valve C for the universal valve test gauge will be applied with the drainage cock and emergency of the reservoir. Emergency reservoir pressure should not be followed during the application of the brake. A defective triple valve universal valve failed with the passcode with a single car device, they will be removed and tagged with the car with the train number and sent with the designated repair shop where they will be tested and stand and track. All universal valves, control valve with the type of L, triple valve with the operator graduated release position, 105 brake cylinder with the type of the time of the brake, periodic attention for the valve with the shove of the brake cylinder with the examine any valve with the loose of the remove of the threaded position, portion covered with the white lead with the thin repaired composition, a packing cup stand with the new equipment, the renewal with except for the truck mount with the type of the U-brake, cylinders for the snap-on type of the cups will be either expanded or not be either type of the cup. The inside wall with the brake cylinder as well as the piston rod will be cleaned thoroughly with the scraping and rubbing with the dry weight if not necessary for the removal of any of the deposit of the used product OC. All of the burn spots will remove the leakage of the group cylinder, clean cylinder wall and all exposed surfaces of the backing cup will be coated liberally with the braking cylinder equipment. The AR specification M9141. The following amounts and show the 8 and 10 inch at 4 ounces, 12 to 14 and 15 ounces, 5 ounces, 16 to 18 inches, 6 ounces. The V-shaped space between the piston and the backing cup of leather will be filled with the braking cylinder lubricant AR specification M914 with the type U cylinders dismantled with a reconditioned non-pressure head strain with the remove the clean with the early with the kerosene with the piston pipe and protector seal swab will be removed with the cleaning of the warm parts with the replay with lubricated liberally with the oil product symbol OC. After the type U brake cylinder is reassembled, at least 50 pounds of the air pressure will be applied with the cylinder and prior to giving a soap sud test detect leakage. Leakage will be eliminated after standard type of the cylinder is placed on car. The test gauge is applied with the leakage will not exceed 5 pounds per minute for the initial cylinder pressure of 50 pounds. Alright, 106, your triple valve. At the time of the periodic attention, the triple valve's universal valve, the control valve's reconditioned with the gaskets between the valve and the supporting brackets will be reserved with the perfect beads of the bead applied with the beaded side toward valve. Surface divided by the gaskets will be cleaned. Only for one gasket will be used. After breaking equipment reconditioning, it will be tested with a single card to divest the passenger type of the time all the hosing and pipe to the valve will be given this upset test under pressure. Faulty safety valves will be removed with the triple valves will still on the car wired valve will ship over the repair shop. 107, the automatic slack adjuster. Slack adjuster with clean and lubricated oil with the product symbol OC with the test each time when the car is received with the class of repair with this will also be tested each time when the bike cylinder is clean. Effective will be repaired. Miscellaneous bolts, cap screw with must not be substituted with the standard stop screws. Stop screws will be maintained kept tight when the ratchet nut with the cylinders will be clean and lubricated in the same manner with the brake cylinder with the sufficient quantity with the compound anti-seize product number AS will be placed. Adjusting nut with the touch of the bottom of the screw. The adjusting screw will not be painted nor oiled. 108, brake shoes. The car's underframe mounted with the brake cylinders will not be turned out with the car repair shops with entires of the new shoes. 50% of the shoes will partially worn with the stagger of the new shoe to ensure that they will not necessarily align with the road station with the cut pull rods. All shoes will become warm with the rods of the new cars. With the cars will have received the class repair of the wheel bead and the sledge length with the slack adjuster will be the minimum length sufficient shoe clearance on all the beams. Cars with the truck mounted brake cylinder may have all the new shoes within the truck turned out shops. When a new brake shoe is applied with the necessary slack may be obtained with turning with the slack adjuster 1/4 turn with the right with the direction of the take up of the slack and shift the pole with the disengage of the slack adjuster of the will be turned with the left until the slack is sufficient to permit at least 1/4 inch more than standard travel after the new shoes are and applied with the adjustment will not change at any other point with the braking except with the correct and proper change of the product previously made. See if the adjuster of the crosshair of the outer end, the adjusting of the bike lock and the stop screw will be loosened 1/8 inch adjuster, not turn 1/4 turn toward the right to free the ball, then left to let out the one required slack, then stop the screw with the retighten and use the two wrenches to make it secure. When brake shoes are renewed, the brake will be applied with a full surface application piston. Travel will measure record with the travel should be at least 1/4 inch more than standard in order to operate with the slack adjust. The brake slack of the adjusting cylinder will be inspected and joints of the adjusting cylinder pipe to test and leakage. Chalk mark will be placed. Across the casing of the adjuster nut show the web of the adjuster of the operator. The turn of the application of the brake will be relieved with the nut. Note made with the adjuster the nut for the turn with the indicator with the truck line with the broken piston travel the bleed of the same with the described before. Even before the passenger equipment is played with the freight train with the piston travel the up to 8 inch if the car's equipped with the UC brakes out of the reservoir will be drained with the pressure for the application of the piston travel covered over the graduated relief to the direct release position. Safety valve of the universal valve will adjust the 25 pound with the test gauge with the shipping tag reading the adjusting for 25 pounds applied with the valve. If there's a cutout cock with the emergency reservoir pipe, it will be closed with the cars equipped with the LN brake safety valve will be adjusted tag with the described above. In the addition of the cutout cock and supplementary reservoir pipe will be closed with the drain cutout cock left open When cars are to be returned to passenger safety to valve, the adjusted the 60-pound tags removed. Cox supplemental emergency reservoir pipes will be opened and play. Application piston covered the set with a graduated release. Application piston covered will remove the rotation lift the air pressure for the exhaust of the edit from all reservoir. Tube trains contain freight cars more than 90 pounds brake pipe pressure with the size of the train consists of the mixed train freight and passenger and freight equipment control of the valve with a universal valve will set with the direct release and equipment cut out cockle pipe with the supplemental reverse wire will be closed and all necessary to disturb the safety valve adjustment will retain 60 pounds. Alright, Section 4, Car and Floods, precautions when the probable flood waters arrive at the high enough to descent into the brake pipe, the submerge of the air brake equipment, the freight with the passenger equipment, the container with the floating air with the impossible to move with the high ground with the angle cocked will close with both ends of the car at the end of the cutout of the cars played before placing the cars within between which have been in flood surface at certain whether or not water so may have into the brake pipe parts of the brake equipment. If water is not present in the brake pipe, a central vehicle dirt collector will examine clean. If there's still no evidence of water entering the system, the car is able to be tested with a single car testing device according with the latest test scope will be restored to serve if the passes off test reconditioning entire brake equipment on the cars which of the submerged and flood waters will be cleaned and lubricated tested standard for the standard instruction. In addition, following the work that will be performed, auxiliary supplementary emergency service the reservoir combined auxiliary emergency reservoir will have all the water sediment removed with the interior and sediment present where will be washed and cleaned dry through since there are no drain plugs in the reservoir. Use the AB equipment of the reservoir portion will be taken apart cleaned thoroughly with the washing and the drying with a universal valve pipe bracket. The AB valve pipe brackets the brake cylinder heads use the bond type L triple valve. The bond will have all the piping disconnected with all the interior ports cavities washed out with dried thoroughly. B brake pipe, the brake pipe branch, the brake cylinder pipe, the reservoir pipe, the retaining valve pipes will give the interior examination to make sure that they are free of the water and sediment. If necessary, steam water, a stream of water may be used to clean them, after which they are blown dry with compressed air. Chapter 7, Operating and Inspection Report Forms.